Well, here we are, finally back out on the rocks. It's beginning of March, and I don't know if you can hear, or maybe you can, but there's not much wind noise. It's a really nice day, although it's just about to cloud over typically as we start filming. But being a bit cheeky today because it's Friday, so should be at work. But I woke up, saw the forecast, and thought, nah, I haven't been out fishing for ages. And the forecast for the weekend was pretty poor, so I thought, stuff it, take a cheeky day off and head up and get out on the rocks. It was a bit of a false start. I woke up and had a puncture on the back tyre of my car, which wasn't great, so I've had to get that sorted. And then I got down here after a couple of hour drive and got set up on the rocks and everything, and realised I'd forgotten the cable for my GoPro, so I'd ease back up the cliff and back to the car and hopefully there was a cable there, which there was. And so that was another 40 minutes wasted. So it's now actually 1:45, and I was meant to be here at about 10, but that's just one of those days. I'm hopefully going to catch, well, I'm targeting Pollack and cod as usual. Started off with a Savage Gear sand eel. It's 23 gram version. It's not weedless, so been reasonably careful with it, not getting too close to the structure, but just had a Pollack off camera typically. And conditions wise, I've mentioned the wind. It's not very windy, it's swirling around a bit, and but it's only like 15 to 20 mile an hour, which is completely different to the 40 and 50 mile an hour we've been used to here in the UK. If you live in the UK, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It seems to have been a named storm every weekend since January, and an average wind speed of about 40 mile an hour, which obviously makes it pretty tough to get out here. But we're here now, we're going to go and catch some fish. We're fishing the tide down, so high tide was about an hour ago. Fishing the tide down, which I really like doing around here. The cod seem to like it anyway. Temperature wise, we're down to about 2 degrees, so it's not the warmest of the days, but without that wind, it's not too bad. Alright, let's get fishing. Oh, fish on, yeah! Oh, this feels better than the last one. It's taking line. I'm pumping it because I've got to really get it up over the structure that's just in front of me here. If I don't, then I'll lose it. Oh, I'll lose it all. No, away from those rocks. Hey! Well, there we go. That didn't take too long. Literally the second cast. On the Savage gear. It's quite a nice fish, that. It's not bad. This is my first good pollock of the year. Yes, I'm happy with that. Got that nice pollock smell. And away he goes. Yes, get in. Happy with that. So after a few false starts this morning, that makes it all worthwhile. Just to show you the lure again, there's the Savage gear sand eel. I normally use these for bass fishing, but this colour I really like when the water's this clear. Seems to be there's some fish around and they like it as well, so I'm going to keep using it until it's broken or gone. Let's see if we can get some more pollock. Oh, lovely, the sun's coming back out. That is perfect. Look like I'm gonna get wet. Look at that. Woo! I'll just have a talk you through what I'm doing. So I'm casting out. You can see I'll pin the line with my finger once my lure lands, and that's to allow the lure to take up the tension in the line, because the water's so deep here. Fish I find are closer to the bottom, so if you stay in contact with your lure the whole way, you barely even keep your lure in the what I'd call the kill zone or near the bottom. So what I'd do is I cast out, and once the lure takes the tension off the line, then I'll just release a few coils off my reel, and then allow the tension to pick up again once the lure's closer to the bottom, so I don't run the risk of missing any bites. Plus I can also feel when the lure's hit the bottom. Now the lure's just hit the bottom, takes about 15 to 30 seconds depending on the depth of the water. Now all I'm doing is, I know pollock and cod stay near the bottom, so I'm trying to keep my lure as close to the bottom without getting snagged as possible. So what I like to do is a couple of lifts like this, a couple of winds, that brings the lure up in the water, and then I just leave it to sink back down. I think that's called the lift and draw technique. It's really good for fishing slowly in the winter as well, which is the key to catching fish in the winter with lures, is to fish slowly. Just repeat that pretty much to until I get to the shore. I can mix it up a bit, and if I find that the lure is taking a long time to sink, then I will let some more line back out and get the lure closer to the seabed while it's at my feet. I've just let some line out there, and unfortunately I got snagged. Oh, there we go, I'm off. The other way I like to fish these, or any lure when I'm fishing for pollock and cod, is to just to let the lure sink, keep it in contact with it obviously. Once it's hit the seabed, then just a really slow retrieve, enough to keep the lure movement looking natural as it's moving, and on a horizontal, but not so fast that it's rising in the air up from the seabed. The lure's still sinking, so I've just let a coil out. You can see the bow in the line isn't actually moving at all, so that means my lure must be on the ground or in the seabed. Just give it a little lift and keeping the rod tip low to keep the lure lower down in the water. Just gently wind it. Ooh. I was dragging it along the bottom there. Gently wind it like this, and every now and again just stop it. You can let out a coil of line, and that helps to keep the lure as close to the seabed as possible. You can see how much line it's actually taken. I've only wound the reel about 4 or 5 times before I stopped. There we go, we're on the bottom again. Just give it a little gentle lift to lift it up over any obstacles, and then start the slow retrieve. I've been maybe 20 turns of the handle there, and then just stop again. Let the lure sink. Often the fish, they're either living down right at the base under my feet, or they'll follow the lure right in towards the cliffside, so they're kind of, you know, they're predators after all, and they'll attack the lure right close to the shoreline. So letting this line out like this and fishing slowly means they can fish your lure as close to the bottom and right into the cliff edge. Obviously everyone's got their own way of doing things, and but these are my 2 main retrieves that work for the way I fish up in this area, you know, and actually wherever I fish, to be fair, but then that's dictated by the tackle as well. So I just thought I'd take a moment to go through the tackle that I'm using. My regular viewers will know what I usually use, but for those who haven't seen any of my videos before, I'll take you through what I like to use. So this is a rod made by Slash. It's a Japanese rod brand, if you can see that there. And the model is, it's called a Lamya Thief. It's 8.5 foot, and it casts 5 to 28 grams. It's actually a sort of lightweight, light-ish bass rod. This one in particular has got a nice soft top and or soft tip, which is exactly the way I like to fish. I like a lively rod. On that I've got a Diawa BG Magsealed 2,500 size with a shallow spool on it, and I pretty much use this for all of my fishing bar beach fishing for cod. It's sealed, so it's great on the kayak. Just got this at the end of last season and really liking it. It's quite a bit more than the usual BG, which is a classic reel, but I think it's worth it for the extra sealed technology. On that I've got a 12-pound Tasline Elite braid, which I actually buy from Australia, funnily enough, but it actually works out cheaper than the stuff that I usually use in the UK. And it's rated at 12 pounds, and it's 0.6 PE, but actually when you use it with a, like I have here, tied to a leader with an FG knot, here I can't see that in there, it's actually the average breaking strain of a braid's 20 pounds, so it's a diameter of 12-pound braid, but hopefully at the moment I'm fishing with a 20-pound equivalent. And that thin line means that I can handle the wind a little bit more, you know, it doesn't catch in the wind, the tide doesn't affect it too much, so fishing in this deep water I can keep in contact with lighter lures, which I've fished here now for about 6 or 7 years, and I've whittled down my tackle to pretty much this, and this is the way I like to fish. It's nice and balanced tackle. You know, it's an 8.5 foot rod with the reel's a little heavier, but it's nicely balanced and everything works together. You know, there's nothing that's kind of out of the norm, like a 60-pound braid with a 10-gram lure or something like that. On the braid, I've used a 20-pound or 22-pound Seagaur Ace Hard fluorocarbon. I use about 5 to 6 foot of that, and that enables me to lift the fish nicely and protects. Don't know if you can see all the barnacles around here, but if your line touches that while it's under tension, then you're done for. So I've been here, it's 25 to 3, so I've been here fishing roughly about an hour. 2 fish, 1 on camera, and quite happy with that. But then, to be fair, it's such a nice day at the moment that I'll be happy just to be here, or that I am happy just to be here. I think I'm going to swap lure to a little weedless paddle tail. Just try dragging it through this kelp and structure for a few casts, and then probably move around the corner to fish the headland. The tide's moving from south to north and hitting that headland, and it creates a nice big back eddy, which I've had some good luck in the past. So I'll swap the lure over now to I think probably a 12 gram weight and a 1/0 hook, 3.5 inch paddle tail, or 8 centimeters. So and then I can get that in down and dirty in the kelp. Right, so for those of you who haven't seen this setup, I'm using Van Fook 2.0 worm 55B hooks, which are razor sharp, pretty strong for the gauge. This is the paddle tail I'm going to use. It's a bit tainted from a red lure that's loose in my box somewhere, so what I'm going to do is rig this weedless by threading through the nose and coming out through the centre like so. Make sure it's all nice and aligned with the centre of the body so it runs straight. Slip that up over the bend in the hook. And then this is quite a big hook for this lure, but it works for the fish, because if they nip at the tail of the lure, then the hook's right there. And there we go. So what I'll do, that's that rigged up. What I'll do is I'll just give that a gentle little nick. Now I've got a 14 gram cheb, or bottom chebaruska, or bottom weight, depending on which brand you get, and you just slide that through the eye of the hook like so, then stick that back in through the lead. And that's that, and then my lure clips onto this, and then that gives really good articulation and movement to the lure. So just drag that along through the kelp in the bottom, and hopefully a fish might come and get it. But at least this way this doesn't hook onto the any kelp or anything, but when the fish bite it, it exposes a hook, and hopefully we'll catch them. Let's put the theory to practice. So this is my lure clip. It's quite a big one. It's a Delandi model, 50 pound I think, breaking strain. But it's quite big because it's got a swivel on. I've got these now because I've been fishing with a lot of metals, and they tend to spin up and twist your braid. But you can see how quick and easy it is. So this is a chebaruska. There we go, rigged. Just triggered the hook. Let's get that out there. So that lure is lighter, and the weight's lighter than the Savage gear that I've just taken off, but it actually casts further because the paddle tail is much smaller, a bit more aerodynamic. I'm getting a bit bored of fishing so slowly, so I think I'm going to stick a metal on, cover some water, and fish a little bit quicker. Hopefully it'll warm us up a wee bit as well. Take the hook protectors off. Don't normally fish with I like fishing with trebles too much, but I'm pretty much out of singles, I think, so it's just gonna have to do. No, I'm not really feeling this razor claw at the moment. I'm sure they've changed since we went out of production and then came back in. I've been chucking this round for about half an hour now and not had a nibble. Yeah, it's pretty unusual for this lure. Not even a collie, you know, it's strange. So I'm going to bring this in and swap over to the thing that was catching me the fish, which was a Savage Gear sand eel. And it's 4 o'clock now, so I've been here 2.5 hours. So probably got another half hour before I need to make a move because of the lack of daylight and then the long drive home. No, it seems a lot thicker across the top here. Doesn't seem to have the same motion that they used to in the water. Go, fish catcher. Try a little bit of a change of scenery. Fish some open water. See if there's any cod moving around. Problem I'm having is because this paddle tail takes quite a while to sink, the tide's just carrying it, and when I was fishing that direction the tide was moving the lure closer to me, so I can't actually get it on the bottom. At least this way I'll be able to swing it round in the tide to the right and bring it back up. What an evening though. Still over there, completely still. You can just see the tide line, the dark water moving along. Oh, fish on! Feels like a little collie maybe? Yep. Not that little. See, oh no, so I was saying about that metal lure. There he goes, swam away there. I was saying about that metal lure, now that coolie's a perfect type of fish for that lure. Not a 4-inch soft plastic. So it's 4:15 now, we've been fishing for what, three hours? And that was my third fish, second on camera. It's nice to get something for the effort, you know, even if it is just a little coolie. It's been over an hour without a nibble, so it's always nice to get something. Well, unfortunately the rain's brought the session to a kind of premature end, but only by 20 minutes or so it's not too bad. It's been after a few false starts, it's been a canny afternoon really. 2 Pollack, which is first of the year, and then a finish off on a coley there, so all in all not a bad few hours. Now I'm just going to have to take my time on these rocks because they're it's like an ice rink at the moment. But hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe as well if you haven't already. Click the little notification bell if you want to know when my next video comes out, and leave a comment as well, please do. Always welcome some comments. So thanks for watching, and tight lines. See you again soon.